If you've dreamed about seeing multiple continents, staying with host families around the world, today's episode is for you. Our friend Chloe did just that on her gap year, and she shares so much about what she learned about the world, how it works, and all of the different people she met along the way. Take a listen to Chloe's story through a Plan My Gap Year experience. Welcome to the Gap Year podcast, where we explore the who, what, where, when, and why of gap years. It's real people sharing their stories, ideas, and experts diving deep into how you can make the right decisions in order to have a meaningful gap year. This is the place to be no matter where you are on your gap year journey. I'm Michelle Dittmer, your resident gap year expert. Let's jump right in. Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the Gap Year podcast. My name is Michelle Dittmer, and I'm your host and Gap Year expert. Today on the podcast, we are having a fantastic conversation with world traveler Chloe, who is going to share so much insight into her experience, not just getting away, getting out of the house, but not just getting out of the house, getting around the world. So, Chloe, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Amazing. Well, why don't you give us a little more background than what I gave? Who are you? What are you up to? Where are you at in life? Just give us a little bit of a background on Chloe.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have recently turned 21. I was attending school in Boston, Massachusetts for psychology primarily. I was in my second year when I decided to take this gap we're going to be talking about today. And it kind of came on a whim, and I'll get into it a little bit later. But as I was traveling, I decided to withdraw from college. I just felt like there was more out there before I finished out my degree, and I didn't feel like I needed to rush it. So now I'm back home in Charlottesville, Virginia, where I was born and raised, back in my parents' house. But I'm making it work. I am a gymnastics coach at the moment, and I love it with my whole heart. I do plan to continue traveling before going back to school. But yeah, I'm kind of in this in-between stage, still processing all the things I learned from going abroad and resting a lot. So it's all been good. It's been a challenge, but it's been one that I think that I need right now. Um, yeah, so that's where I'm at currently.
Well, I think you've said so many things in just that introduction that I think have value to all of our listeners in terms of where you were at in your journey. A lot of people think this only happens right after high school. And there is no date, there is no age limit, there is no correct quote unquote time to take a gap year. It's whenever you realize that pushing pause makes sense for you, not for the world, not for the way that people think it should be done, but for you, whatever that looks like. And there is no prescribed way that you should be spending your time. And there is no start and end date. It doesn't have to be 6 months, 12 months, 9 months, whatever it is. It's about you going on that journey, figuring out what you need out of that journey, and then making plans to make it happen. And then the plans for reintegration afterwards, which is kind of where you're sitting in the moment. But there are just so many beautiful things about your story. So thank you so much for sharing them with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you said that you did some travel, and I think that's a little bit of an understatement. Tell us a little bit more exactly about this travel. How long was it? Where did you go? Kind of give us the high level version of what this travel experience looked like.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was originally planning to study abroad for the semester, just a 3-month program. But I stumbled across Plan My Gap Year, which is the program I took. And I had came across their biggest encounter, which is called Round the World Encounter. It is up, I think it's up to 10 months, but I took the 5 month path, which was 2 weeks in 10 different countries across 3 continents. So it was quite the travel plan, and it was something that I felt like kind of matched what I wanted. Um, I would love to stay in a place for like an adequate amount of time, but I felt like for where I was at in life, I just kind of wanted to go, go, go and see as much as I could and then return to the places once I kind of had a better scope of what's out there. So, as much as it was a big trip, I do feel like it was a good introduction for what travel could look like for me and for other people my age and just kind of like the possibilities out there. Yes, it was a long time to travel, but because it was in short increments, I felt like it was doable for me. But it's so awesome because you had choice in how long you wanted to stay in each location. So it wasn't like I was really bound to a certain like plan. So there was definitely flexibility there.
I love that. A little bit of a sampler pack.
Yeah.
Just a little taste of everything that is out there. And I think like the same way we approach like skincare or shampoo, like getting out there and not having to commit to a giant bottle of shampoo, but you get to see which one works for you, which one you're most interested in. And there are so many places in this world to see that provide different experiences and different cultures to explore. And if that's part of what interests you, if you are interested in understanding the diversity that exists in our world, hitting up that many countries in that period of time checks those boxes really, really well. So that, like you said, it was quite a long time to be away from home. A lot of people get a little bit nervous around travel and being away from home. So what was it that gave you the confidence to be able to actually get up, pack your bags for a variety of countries and head out the door for so long?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, confidence. Whew, that's a good question because when I came across this program, I had this new feeling. I haven't even created a name for it, but it was this immense amount of fear and excitement at the same time that I almost started like crying when I found the program because I was like, this is beyond me. Like, this feels impossible. I have to do it. Like, it was this sense of like adrenaline rush of being like, this is crazy. I want to see if I can do it. Like, I went into the program being like, I might not make it to the end. I might have to come back early. And by the end, I was like, I can do the impossible. We all can do the impossible. And I don't know, it was this kind of like feeling that gave me chills that I think is that confidence that you're talking about. I have always been one to chase the uncomfort. I have not loved my comfort zone. I feel like I'm not at my best. So I think that's why I chose to travel. Like since being young, I haven't been like, I want to travel the world. Like I have a lot of friends that do and are still continuing to chase that dream, which is awesome. But when I found this, I was like, I want to chase growth. Like I want to grow in as many ways possible, and the only way for me to do that is to be scared and kind of go out of the way and do something life-changing, to say the least. So I think that's kind of where it came from. I think I was more scared of staying home or staying in this routine in college that I had that I didn't love than going out there and doing something very unknown to me. That felt like I had more confidence to do that than confidence to stay. So I think it's this kind of like this switch. We all respond to different scenarios differently. And this is just something that excited me enough to be like, I'm gonna give it a shot at least. Like it's here in front of me. I feel like it's calling me or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I love that you talk about discomfort and just being uncomfortable because that is where growth happens. you talk about like this rut, this routine, the status quo, and just kind of chugging along. And when you're in that comfort zone, nothing changes. And that includes you as a person. You can't grow very much if you're not pushing yourself outside of that comfort zone. And when I work with gappers, I often talk about three different zones. There's your comfort zone, like at home in your jammies, everything is known, it's very comfortable. Then there's your challenge zone where you're like, ooh, this I really gotta dig deep to do this, but I think I can do it. And then there's your overwhelm zone where you feel absolutely panicked. And we don't want to go too far into that overwhelm zone because also you can't learn and grow there because you're too busy surviving. So that sweet spot that you're talking about, that's where you get the goosebumps. That's where you get the like, I don't know, but I think I can, that feeling. And it's really in that challenge zone where you step into something that you aren't 100% sure you're going to be able to achieve, but you're going to give it a go anyways. And it sounds like you sat in that challenge zone for quite a bit of your time while you were abroad.
Yeah, definitely. I would say going into it, I kind of prepared for the worst. I think it's good to like when you go into a travel situation that you have no idea what's gonna come of it, is to set the bar fairly low, just to like make sure that you don't like set these expectations for yourself. I went in thinking I was gonna get sick at least 3 or 4 times, so I prepared for that when I was packing. That was like a big thing. That will come up in like my tips. But there was sickness. Okay, I'm probably gonna miss a flight. I have a total of 23 flights I need to catch. There's no way I'm gonna check off every single one. So I kind of like mentally prepared for that. And then of course there are the challenges that come up that no one could ever prepare for. So it's kind of like you're going in as a problem solver. Like you have to be ready for anything that's given to you. And that's why I love travel opportunities like this because you can kind of become undefeatable. If you're able to take a challenge and turn it into a lesson and keep moving forward, you can come back home and you can apply that to your everyday life. And I definitely feel like I've been able to do that in increments after coming back home and facing these abroad challenges.
Yeah, and I would echo that 10,000%. And that's why I encourage so many people to travel if it's within their means, if it's within their capabilities, getting out there because you realize you are capable and that you can make good judgment calls and you can receive a problem and come out the other end not unscathed, but like still learning something from it and surviving and moving forward and taking the lesson out of it. And that's really what you're talking about in terms of when you come home and you're tossed a curveball, you're like, I got this, handle this. Like
Exactly.
I missed my flight and I was fine. I can deal with a bad grade in college or whatever it is, right? It's that ability to act on the fly and to know and to have confidence that you are capable of navigating new situations, which is a skill that carries with you your entire life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will add to that, like something that I learned along the way is that not all these challenges have like set solutions. I think I kind of grew up in a world where other people would really help solve them for me. And most of the time that was Plan My Gap Year. They had my back all the way through. But being cross contact via email, some things you have to do on your own and some things you just kind of have to like let play out. And that's scary because you have to release that control over these situations. For instance, I didn't apply for my visa for India in time, so I had to stay back in Tanzania for an extra week, waiting every single day for that visa to come in to even book a flight. So a lot of it is like sometimes you have to wait and you have to make the best of the moments that you have because they can be cut short at any time. So I don't know. I think that was the hard part was like also not being able to like solve the issue and just kind of letting the universe do its thing. So sometimes they're bigger than others, but I don't know. I feel like that was something new for me coming from a very like structured like home life too.
Mhm. And I think that's a universal experience right now. Like, we like to have a plan. We like to know what's going to happen. And when we don't, what's the first thing we do? We pull out our phone, we jump into Google and like find the answer, find the solution. And we can do that. We were trying to watch Harry Potter the movie today, and we didn't have it on our streaming platform, so we had to find another way to watch it, but the solution was there at our fingertips, and that's not real life.
Right.
But we often lived in the sheltered little bubble, and it doesn't take a lot to find solutions. But when we go outside of that bubble, then we start to use our brains in a different way, and we start to look for solutions, or we get comfortable knowing that maybe there isn't a solution, and that's okay too. Or the
Right.
solution might be forthcoming, but we don't know when or where. And all of that ability to be okay in this in between zone, again, something that's going to stick with you forever.
Yeah, absolutely. And like one trick in practicing is that turn off your Wi-Fi. Like once you don't have Wi-Fi or service and you have no access to the world on your phone, it makes you really think.
Mhm.
And sometimes you just have to be in these like panicky situations to be like, okay, let me think outside the box. Like let me go a few years back when we didn't have all of this information. So sometimes like you just kind of have to like get out there and be a little brave to problem solve. But yeah, it's very true. All of it. It's very true.
Yeah, and definitely like do a trial of that at home to feel what it feels like. Side note, there was a study done of folks who were allowed to use AI and people that were not allowed to use AI, like for ChatGPT to solve problems. And they did, I think it was like a 2 week experiment, and one group got to use it and the other group did not. And by the end of the week, they were monitoring brain activity, and the ones who were using ChatGPT, they had less brain activity. Like they were actually losing the ability to think and problem solve,
Mhm.
because they were relying on the technology. And while we're really lucky to have that technology at our fingertips and we can use it in many really positive ways, we also want to retain that the ability to think and form opinions and think outside of the box and outside of what ChatGPT is telling us too. So just a little side note on that
Yes,
that piece, but
absolutely.
that's what makes us human, right? That's what makes us people, which I think is really, really powerful. But speaking of people, one of the things that you mentioned before our recorded chat here was how you got to see different families throughout your trip through all of these countries. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you noticed, what you saw, what you learned, and kind of what that meant for you when you returned home? How does that play out, and how do you take those learnings into your life today now that you're back home?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I feel like when experiencing so many different cultures, it's like you can't avoid like seeing all these different ways of life and question your own back at home. But it's so beautiful because I really saw this sense of like togetherness that I feel lacking in certain areas, at least in the States.
Mhm.
Um, Especially with just family dynamics. People are together. They're sitting on the street, simply just sitting, not doing anything, no phone in hand, having a conversation, letting the world go by. And I think that's something that we don't always get the chance to do anymore. We're busy people, we've got stuff to do. But also, I felt like I just saw people taking a step back and just enjoying time as it is. I definitely think religion plays a huge role in all of this as well. Got to see a lot of different monasteries and just different ways to go about religion, and it brought community together no matter what the religion was. It brought people into a church, it brought people to a temple, it brought people here and there. And I think that's so beautiful to have this kind of routine to show up for each other, no matter what it may be. Um, the importance of connection was major, I think, and I don't think that really goes unnoticed there by the people, but it definitely does here. I think we all kind of are thriving for this connection that seems lacking in these more developed countries. Again, because of technology is definitely plays a role in that. I mean, even when I was volunteering with some of these kiddos, like they wanted to see our phones, they wanted to like gravitate towards that. But when we all put them away, there was definitely more sense of play and fun. And I don't know, I feel like that even extends into their familial relationships at home. And I don't know, traveling it's tough on the body. It makes you appreciate these smallest things. It forces you into this kind of simple world that is actually so rejuvenating at the end of the day. Whenever I got a chance to have a hot shower, it was like the best day ever. Or like an adequate amount of like food or iced water, like the smallest things that you take for granted go a long ways. And I think that just ups their appreciation in these cultures. It's not like, oh, this is so sad. They're so like impoverished. Like, of course it can be heartbreaking, but it's their life. It's what they know. They make the most of every second and they probably enjoy life as a whole more than a lot of people do when they have so much here. So it definitely ups your gratitude. And coming back home, I really didn't want to lose that sense. And it's hard. It's when you're given so much, it's easy to like lose touch. So I'm still trying to be like, oh, maybe I should take a cold shower every here and there to just really like understand what I have back at home, but also extending that when you travel. It's okay to have more things or more money than other people, but do good with that, I think. And just the whole concept of different cultures is so beautiful. Let people live how they want to live and learn from that. And also understand there are so many similarities that go unnoticed between humanity. I felt very similar to a lot of the people, like local people there, just on like a human level. Like everything set aside. Like we gravitate towards connection and love and romance and all of this. Like you can't shy away from that. And it's okay to be like, we are similar. It's beautiful to be like, we are similar, yet have our different lives. So I think it was really cool to have a different perspective going into each country and seeing those similarities, not letting go of that, but also being like, this is different from how I live. That's amazing. Like, let me learn about it. I want to know more. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, like so many powerful things. I was even writing notes because I was like, oh, I want to make sure that people really heard this part. And yeah, that reverse culture shock is such an interesting experience to have had culture shock in another place and then to come home and have to kind of readjust all of our expectations when we're in our own space again, when we have seen different ways of living, different religions, different cultures, and then to come home and say, well, what do I make of this now? How do I take all of these things that I've learned and how do I make my world, my smaller world, a better place with all the things that I'm now bringing with me. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with is, well, now what? So I did this thing and I saw these things, but now what? And really, in the world of volunteer travel, the biggest impact you can have is not actually on the communities that you visit. It's what you do when you come home. And that could be how you raise your children. That could be how you show up in your community. That's how you create a new community, how you support inclusion, whatever it happens to be. That's the true impact that you can make. And you talked a lot about this community and this idea of ritual as well. And those are things that we have kind of squeezed out of modern North American society, or modern kind of Western society, is this capitalism, this fast-paced world, and just go, 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 and acquire things. Whereas that fundamentally, as humans, we want that connection. We want that sense of ritual, that coming together over meals, not shoving food in your face in your car on your way to the next thing, like sitting down with family and friends and having conversation is, I think, really where the pendulum is swinging back to. I think there's a this underlying desire for community. We're realizing that this individualism is not feeding our souls as it should. And so I'm really glad that you had the opportunity to see that. And I'll be so interested in how that plays out for you back home now, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say you mentioned food real quick. That was something that I wanted to quickly touch on because food means so much more when you go to these places. I feel like it is a connector. It's a chance to sit down and to talk and just to like enjoy every bite because food is scarce in some of these areas and it taught me how much variety America has in its food aisles. And I don't know, it's so eye-opening because when people were like, "Oh my gosh, you're gonna try all these different cuisines," I'm like, I'm so excited. And I show up and it's minimal and it's delicious. But we have, again, these developed countries have taken the cuisine and then expanded it and made it more of an extreme. So it has all these different kinds of plates and I found that in these touristy locations. And it was still delicious and it felt authentic, but it really came down to the dishes that they eat over and over again. Like I had rice and dal more than I probably ever will in a lifetime. And it was just as special each time because I was with a community of people. It wasn't all about many different kinds of flavors. It was just enjoying this one dish until you really appreciated it. And I think that like kind of ties in with the simplicity of it all and how we make things a little bit more complicated. And that's okay. I mean, that's just the way we do things. But I don't know. It just showed me how much importance there is sitting down, having a simple meal, and making the connections more rich and flavorful than anything else in your life at that time. Yeah.
The word that comes to my mind when I listen to what you're saying is nourishment.
Mm,
Like yes, it nourishes your body. It gives you the nutrients that your body needs to continue living another day, but it also nourishes the soul and the connection when we look at food as not only just calories and fat and protein, and the way we've kind of scientifically looked at food in North America with the abundance that we have. We have kind of compartmentalized it. And when we talk about nourishment here, we talk about, am I getting the right number of calories? Am I getting my macros? Like all of this. But there is so much more to being fully nourished. And that connection and that slowness is really just such a beautiful thing.
yeah, 100%.
Amazing. Can you tell me a little bit more about your experience with Plan My Gap Year? Because this is like a big undertaking to travel around the world, 5 months, lots of logistics, lots of things that could go wrong. So, what was that like? What type of support did you get leading up to the trip and then while you were on the ground? Because I'm sure people are curious, especially if they're a little nervous around travel or if their parents are nervous about their kid being away for that long. So, what kind of support was there? What did that look like?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I would not be here today having done this trip without Plan My Gap Year. I owe my life to them. I will say I got very lucky coming across their website even. I actually thought I was on a different website for a different gap year program, and I was like, wait, this does not line up. This is the wrong one. But then it caught my eye, and I was like, okay, I'll just put my email in and see what happens. Just was flooded by support and people reaching out to me and it being very genuine and not just like automated. So I was like, okay, I trust this organization. And even to this day, I they went above and beyond with their support. It's an intimate group of team members who all care so deeply and have been to most of these countries, if not all. So they have firsthand experience and understand what we're going through. So, first off, like that is major. They know what's going on. And I think like leading up to the trip, I even thought it was a scam at one point because I was like, am I not doing like enough? Like I feel like I need to be like gathering all these documents or submitting all these things like I need vaccines and they really required nothing. So I was like, okay, they've
That's too
taken
good to be
this.
true.
Yeah, exactly what I was thinking. It's too good to be true. But I was like, you know what? There's only one way I'm going to find out. So I kept up and I had them book all my flights, which was a choice. I could have done it, but it took such a weight off my shoulders, did the calculations, basically the same price. I was like, this is absolutely worth it. So the only thing I had to do was pack. Like genuinely, like there was nothing else I really needed to do after I submitted my application and preferences. Um, I forgot to mention earlier that Plan My Gap Year is all volunteer work. So I knew going into it, I wanted to do more than just tourism travel, which is wonderful, but I wanted to interact with local cultures. So I felt like this program was right for me. And showing up for it, it is a huge balance. There is about 2 to 3 hours of volunteer work a day, and then the rest of your time is exploration. And this just kind of builds those connections and gives you time to do both. And that's exactly what I was looking for. So, other than packing, I just had to get on my first flight and just trust that everything was going to work out. They scheduled airport pickups and drop offs most of the time, at least 1 or 2 meals a day, and transportation to your volunteer job. So there was nothing where I felt like it was lacking in any department, which was crazy because I was with them for 5 months in 10 different countries. So you'd expect for one to fall through, just how naturally things unfold.
Law of
But
numbers, yeah.
yeah, yeah, of course. Like that's just that happens. But I felt like it didn't happen. I felt like their teams were very strong. They definitely varied based on the country because again, going back to cultures, people interact with foreigners and they interact just with how the work-life balance is, that the teams were different and I was able to acclimate to them. But the number one thing was if I had a question or if I was worried about something, I would send an email and get an email back in another like 10 minutes. And yes, there are big time jumps, but this is their job. This is what they want to help you figure everything out. So I think like to parents that are a little worried about their kid traveling so far away from home and not knowing what they're really going to end up doing, this is the program to do it with because they will be very upfront and be like, there is freedom. Like most people are 18 plus, so they have the chance to kind of get this sense of adulting and going out there, but also having a safety net a little bit. So you're not just pushing them out of the nest. Absolutely not. Like there are guidelines and there are expectations, but there's also this leeway that I really appreciated. Being a little bit older than some of the volunteers, I didn't feel like it was much of an issue, but I understood that they needed to have some strict boundaries. But again, that leeway is very important. So, yeah, Plan My Gap Year, 100%. I recommend it to anyone looking to travel. When people were like, "Oh, are you backpacking this?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, like that would probably be impossible for me at this point." But just having them by my side, and again, having an intimate team like that, they all know each other. They know the other volunteers I'm with, like we have directly communicated. So if there was anything else I needed to pass along, like it was very easy to get around and to understand what was going on in the scenario. So yeah, I think it was definitely a good balance of like freedom, but also this is your first time traveling alone. Volunteer work, but also get out there, like get in there. I think that's why I chose not to do an abroad program with a school, as much as that's an incredible different experience. I wasn't so sure I wanted to be bound to a classroom, whereas I could make that country be my classroom in a way. I don't know how else to better explain it, but I just wanted to interact with the local community, and I felt like Plan My Gap Year found beautiful spots for that. 30 minutes to an hour away from the city, very accessible when you want it, but the accommodation is in a very local area. So again, best of both worlds. The balance of this program is absolutely outstanding. Yeah.
Yeah, so traveling with an organization is so beneficial. I know everybody jumps to like, I want a backpack. Because I want to see lots of places. And when you're fresh to traveling, having somebody there who's got your back, who knows the ropes a little bit, allows you to actually enjoy the experience and be present rather than always struggling and looking at the logistics or navigating more challenges than you need to. So definitely Plan My Gap Year sounds like they really had your back and allowed you that freedom to really enjoy the experience. Okay, so I'm sure throughout this whole experience, you've gathered some best practices, some things that really worked for you or helped you on this entire round the world journey. So do you have any tips that you would like to share with people who are maybe looking at traveling or have some travel planned? What would be some tips that you would like to share?
Yeah. So there are so many tips I could throw at you all. But the number one piece of advice I have for you is to just take your first opportunity traveling as an opportunity to learn. I think I have already learned so much about how I want to travel in the future that I wouldn't have known unless I had done it. So it goes the same with tips that I could give you because I packed a lot of stuff I did not use. And the only way you're gonna learn that is if you do it. So I think the ones that worked for me work for a lot of people. Having like a little bit of medication just in case you get sick. Like that's, for instance, like something that I was a little bit worried about. But I also overpacked in the sense of I thought I was totally just gonna be like in the middle of nowhere, no access to anything. Again, that bar was low. So when I came into these communities, I was like, they have plenty of stuff for me. Like I do not need to overdo it. Don't overdo it. Like, try to simplify as much as you can. I had to unpack 8 times to get my suitcase under the weight limit. This is a test of what do I absolutely need and what can I get? So, that would be my number one thing. Simplify it. You are going to be okay. You are in good hands. The second thing I would say is if you have a journal or any sort of notebook, just bring it along. You might not use it a whole lot, but it's there. It doesn't take up much space. I did make the commitment of journaling every day. I didn't do it in a sequence. Sometimes I caught it up, but I have a full journal close to the very brim of 140 days traveling. And I might not read that right now, but in the future, I'm definitely going to want to look back. There's only so much photos and videos can capture about your day. There are so many things that go unpictured, that it's good to kind of have this document with you. And it really forces you to reflect and to understand what you're going through. I'll flip to a page and I'll like flip to like my worst day. Like I was not feeling well, but then I flip a few more pages and I'm back at it. So it's good to kind of understand yourself a little bit more. As far as other things, try to make those connections. You simply do not know where they will take you. There is such a backpacking culture out there where it is very easy to meet someone and for them to take you along somewhere else that you would have never expected to go. Like, go with the flow as much as you can. With a program, it can be a little tricky just because they might have certain expectations for you to stay in the accommodation or this and that, and that's totally fine. You will find those areas where you feel like you could have a little bit more freedom. And take that opportunity. Obviously, be smart about it and use your social clues to make sure if it's a safe scenario. But if you're vibing with someone and they have something they want to show with you, go for it. Also, if you plan to continue traveling, don't buy that ticket home yet. Like, you never know where things are going to take you. I regret buying that ticket home because I extended my travels to Australia after Bali, and I'm so glad that I did. I also met someone who had no idea where he was going, and he hit at least another 10 countries after I saw him last. So it's so beautiful to just kind of trust the universe, be smart, but trust the universe, go with the flow, and just let things take you where they will. I feel like that's my biggest piece of advice because it's not very specific, but it definitely helps you kind of get into this open headspace before going into something where you feel like everything needs to be planned out. I guarantee you that plan is not going to follow itself through, and that's okay. Like, it's a natural reflex for us to feel like everything needs to be structured because that's how a lot of us grow up. And I think that's why travel is so awesome because it kind of goes against those societal norms and reflexes and kind of helps you like open up as a human being and to see the world and again all these different beautiful perspectives.
I love all that. And I love that you say like trust the universe but use your head. I think that's
Yes.
like a really, really like tagline, like get that tattooed, whatever it is, because I think that's brilliant. And it's a little dance that's got to play in our lives and in our heads and hearts all the time. Is trust the universe, but be smart about it. Words of wisdom. Wonderful. Well, Chloe, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us today. It's been such a delight to hear all of the things that you've learned on your journey, and I'm sure it's going to inspire many others to pack that bag and head abroad and really capture that learning and bring it back to their everyday life. So, thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much, Michelle. I really appreciate this, and getting to relive it all has been so special. I think if you can travel near or far, go for it. You'll have so many stories to tell and keep telling them because you will inspire other people to do the same. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. Thanks so much for listening in, everybody. And until next time, keep on adventuring.